Really. And if you spent years in coaching and therapy, had genuine breakthroughs, and you can explain exactly why you do what you do, and you're still lying awake at 2 a.m. replaying conversations, still saying yes when you mean no, still micromanaging because you can't let go. Well, this episode is going to change how you see all of it. Because there's not a structural reason none of that work held. It's not about trying harder. It's not about finding better support. But by the end of this, you'll understand exactly why insight doesn't automatically change behaviour and what actually does. So hi everyone, and thank you for coming. If you're watching on replay, put #replay. Welcome to my very first show. This is going to air every week, every Wednesday at 11:30. So I'd love to see you live if you can be here, but if not, by all means watch on replay. But if you want to add any comments, please put them down and I will get back to them as soon as I can. So as I said, this is my first show, so we're going to go with this. We're going to see what happens, and we might tweak it, but let me know if there's anything that you want to hear about or anything that you want information about, because this is for you. This is the upgrade show. This is all about helping you upgrade to be that best version of yourself. So let's start with what we're going to be talking about today. Now, first off, this is not me telling you what you should or shouldn't do, but let me tell you what I'm not going to say. Okay, I'm not here to tell you that therapy doesn't work. I'm not here to tell you that coaching doesn't work. They all do, but for what they're designed for. And this is what I want you to understand. I want to paint a little picture for you here. This is what it actually looks like, right? Now, it could be that you've had those realizations, right? You did feel those shifts. And actually you walked out of those sessions thinking, this time I've got this. It's so different. I've got that clarity. I've got that understanding. I know why I do this and why I do that. I get it. And then 3 or 4 weeks later, you're back to second guessing every decision, despite decades of the experience that you've got, right? Does that sound familiar? You know, you can explain your patterns to anyone who will listen. You understand why maybe you get a bit irritable because it was a behaviour from your parents. You know exactly why you people please because you understand that now. You now know where that came from. And you are 2 steps ahead. But why can you still not switch off? So you've got the insight, but something just isn't changing. Now, you maybe start wondering, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's me that's resistant to change. Maybe you're not good enough to change. Maybe it's not for you. Maybe there's something even wrong with you, because otherwise it would work, right? Well, no, wrong actually, because we can all change. But what we have to do is understand that we need to do it at a subconscious level. We can't just consciously talk our way through things. We have to understand what's going on. That's great to understand, but unless we're fundamentally changing our program within, actually things will come back. Nothing will change. Now, if any of that sounds familiar to you, can you just drop me a message in the chat now? Because I would like to keep, as I said, this interactive throughout the show. And I am talking, I don't know who I'm talking to at the moment, but let's have some interaction. If anyone's there, please say hi, drop me a little message, just let me know that someone's there. But as I say, if you're watching this on replay, please do the same, because I will go back, I promise, and go and look at all the messages. All right, I just want to make sure that we've got a good understanding here of what's going on. Now, there is an issue here. We have what we call the 5% problem. Now, for those who are aware, you'll know that we have a conscious and we have a subconscious mind, okay? Well, actually, we have a superconscious mind as well, which is the next level, but I won't make it even more complicated. But for now, just think about this 5%, right, is your conscious mind. Now, we use our conscious mind every day. I'm talking to you now with my conscious mind. When we're doing some talking therapies and things like that, we're talking with that conscious mind, which is great. We've got all the conscious programming that's going on. That's all happening right now. However, over here, I don't have a big enough hand for this, obviously, but imagine this is 95%, okay? Now, I'm no mathematician. Trust me, I'm not. God knows I'm not. But even I know that 5% is really going to struggle to outweigh 95%, right? It's common sense. So when we're talking with our conscious mind, that 5%, we can believe who we want to be. We can believe that we're amazing, we're intelligent, we're smart. We can look at ourselves in the mirror and tell ourselves we love ourselves, we're beautiful. And that's all good stuff to do. I'm not saying don't do that, because that is really good to do, right? But you're consciously telling yourself, and that's great. However, when you're doing something else over here and you've forgotten that you're talking to yourself in that amazing way, that 95% goes, oh, hang on, no, but you're not Julie, are you? You're a bit thick. Well, you're not really as pretty as you think, are you? Anyway, and who do you think you are sitting there running this show? Who said you could do this, right? And then suddenly I'm like, wow, yeah, maybe I shouldn't do it. Or maybe I am ugly, maybe I'm fat, maybe I'm thin, right? And all that programming just comes back into play. So common sense really doesn't tell us, using our conscious logical brain, that we should really start listening to this 95, shouldn't we? Now, obviously there's so much going on in that 95%. That's where all that automatic programming is going on. You know, I'm not sitting here thinking, oh, I need to remember to breathe. I need to remember to push blood around my body. That's happening automatically. You know, in the same way that when you learn to drive, right? It's really clumsy to start with, isn't it? Trying to remember. I remember thinking, oh, hang on, I've got to steer, I've got to look, I've got to change gears, I've got to use my feet. You know, I'm never going to do this. But after a while, it just becomes automatic, in the same way tying a shoelace does as a child, in the same way as cleaning your teeth. You just automatically do it. But that also means some of our old habits, our bad habits, are also running on autopilot as well. And they're just doing it in your subconscious mind without you even controlling them. All right, does that make sense? So, you know, you could have worked with some amazing coaches, some amazing therapists, but if you were only working with them using that 5%, then you're not going to have changed that program in your 95%. Now, it's not fair to say that all therapists or coaches do that either, because everyone's got different training, they've got different modalities. So maybe they do work with that subconscious programming. And this isn't about slating all these different professions. I trained actually to be a talking therapist. I spent 4 years doing that. Incidentally, I also spent 35 years in the corporate world, and I did that at the same time. So I do understand the differences. And I also understand the work that I do now with the subconscious programming is so different and so more powerful. So I just want to say, before anyone gets upset with me, I am not here dissing any of them. They all are amazing. I know some amazing therapists and amazing coaches, right? But I'm just trying to explain to you that if you really want to do the deep work, then you need to tap into your subconscious mind. All right? So we need to change that subconscious programming. And I do like an analogy. And one of my favorite analogies actually is, you know, most of us have a mobile phone, laptop, PC, or something like that. Okay. Now, when you get, I mean, I'm an iPhone girl. Okay. So after a couple of years, I upgrade my phone because it starts to get a bit slow. It doesn't update properly. In fact, they don't allow it to update properly, do they? So it's very clever way they do that. But anyway, but we upgrade and we don't think twice about that, do we? We go, right, my phone doesn't work anymore, or the software on my PC is not working anymore, so I need to upgrade it. And we do that automatically. We do what we need to do in those situations. But what we don't do in our everyday life is upgrade ourselves. Now, I will explain more of this as we go along in these shows, but I want you just to picture this for a moment. Between the time we are conceived to whatever age you are, that becomes your identity line, your identity box, as I like to call it. All right. Now, things will happen in your life that could be really traumatic, or they could be quite simple things. But between 0 and 7, we don't have logical brain. We can't work out this logical stuff, right? And we create most of our beliefs at that point as well. So before you're even 7 or 8, you've already completed a big chunk of your identity on certain belief. And that belief might be, I'm not good enough, or it might be, I'm stupid, or I'm never going to amount to anything, or I'm never going to be rich because money is for evil people. All these different beliefs are all built before we're even an adult. All right. So when you're living your life in everyday now, you're making decisions based on what your 5-year-old version decided, which is quite scary. And we will go into this more as we go through different shows. But this is what I'm talking about when we need to upgrade, our subconscious programming so that we can actually be living life with a belief that's now, in the here and now, not from when we were 5. All right. So let me try to just explain this a little bit more. Now, like I said, I spent 35 years in the corporate world, so I do get this. I can remember, spending so much time preparing for a meeting, doing all the research, getting my team together, making sure that, all the T's were crossed and the dots, you know what I mean. And you go into that meeting and something happens. You almost turn into a child, that you maybe got that little palpitations going on in here, and you're like, what's going on? Why do I feel like this? I know I can do this, I know I've got this, but there's something about, especially if it's a boardroom, that I don't know, it's a little like Alan Sugar type mode, isn't it? Like, I don't know, you can feel like you're really small, and these people are sitting on these, up the boardroom desk, and like, you're kind of in awe of them because they're in that position that you're not in. But actually, unbeknown to us, they're probably going through those subconscious programming issues as well, right? But anyway, you go into that environment and it just feels kind of overwhelming. And then someone asks you a question or questions what you've said, and somehow you get that tightness in your chest. And then you have that need to over-explain, and that voice is telling you to quick, get out. They found you out. I can remember always having that. And even as a small child, I actually had the phrase of, don't put yourself on a pedestal, because if you do, someone will just come and push you off. And when I look back on that now, it makes me feel really, really sad, because as a result of that kind of impacted how I progressed in work. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was quite successful, but if I'd known the things I know now back then, I'm pretty sure I would be a CEO or something like that. I don't know, because I don't know how much I held myself back. And this is what a lot of us are doing as well. Unless you've done that subconscious programming, you're actually driving your life based on this younger version of you. And that little voice that's saying, Julie, get out, you're not good enough. Who do you think you are? No one in your family's ever done anything like this. Why do you think you can do it? And please put anything in the chat if any of this sounds familiar. It could be you've worked on control issues. You've really learned how to manage yourself. And you know that micromanaging doesn't serve you. And you've really committed to letting this go. And then again, someone in your team doesn't like what you've done or says something differently. And straight away you feel, oh my God, are they trying to diss me? Are they trying to make themselves look better? What's going on? But it's not really about them. It's about you. It's about how you're allowing them or that situation to make you feel. And what's really important here is we can know all this stuff. We can know how this is impacting our lives. We can know why we're behaving like that. But here's the important thing. Knowing and doing are not the same thing. I'm just going to say that again. Knowing what's going on and why we're behaving like that, but doing something different is completely different. Because your subconscious mind is driving that. And that's a really big difference, actually. There's an understanding, again, while we're doing something, but for some reason we can't stop it. Examples of that might be, if you've got any addictions of any kind, it might be drinking too much, maybe it's drugs, maybe it's overeating, maybe it's undereating, maybe you've got what you think might be good addictions where you're just over exercising. But the point is, you're doing something and you can't really stop it. You want to give up smoking, but there's something that stops you from doing it. And this is another good example actually about New Year's resolutions, right? Every year we think to ourselves, oh, I'm not going to do that anymore, or I'm going to do this. I'm going to be more healthy, say. I'm going to start exercising 4 or 5 times a week. Well, anyone who goes to the gym, right, if you've got a gym membership, you'll hate January, won't you? If you're a regular person that goes all the time, don't you just hate January? Because it is just full of these newbie people who have decided to get fit for January, right? But you don't worry though, do you? Because you know by February, I don't know, the 12th or something, it'll all be back to normal. The gym will be as it was before, and you can get back on your equipment and not have to worry. But why do those people stop going? Well, because they really want to do it. Consciously, they really want to do it. And they say to themselves they really want to do it. And they do. They do it for the first week, first couple of weeks. And then maybe it dropped to 3 times. Then it dropped to 2. And then they go, oh, bugger, I haven't been for 2 weeks. Oh, I can't be arsed now. I'm out, I'm bored now. I've gone on to something else. But maybe you found some other fad that you're into at the moment, right? But the point is, your subconscious mind didn't want to do it. And if your subconscious mind doesn't want to do something, it's not going to. Remember the 5-95% split. So if your body feels safer, you being bigger, it's not going to let you lose weight. Now, I know that might be a weird thing to say, but this is absolutely true. So I've worked with people before who really, had weight issues, but it was because something happened to them in the past, and their body said that I need to do. If I was big, I wouldn't get hurt. So your body will stay big. As soon as you try to lose weight, it will sabotage your body. Or someone who's trying to get pregnant, even as well. Actually, back in the day, you said, "Oh my God, I don't want to get pregnant. If I get pregnant, it'll be a disaster." And then by the time you're ready to have a baby, suddenly it's not happening. And why is it not happening? Well, because you didn't tell your subconscious mind that now you actually do want one. I know that's a little bit off topic with my clients that we're talking here, but it's all relevant, right? Your body wants to keep you safe. Your mind's only job is to keep you safe, all right? And if it feels that you're in danger or something's going to happen, then it will kick in and it will stop you in your tracks. Now, that might be giving you anxiety. And you're going, oh my God, I can't go now. I can't go to work, or I can't do that now because I'm all of a fluster. That's because it's saying, I can't let Julie go for that interview because it's not safe for her to go there. Because if she goes, she's not good enough. So she's going to just make a fool of herself. So I'm just going to make it so she can't actually attend the interview. And then that way my job is done. Like a really over-the-top example, when you've got to do a presentation or something like that, and you're going, oh my God, I'm just going to die if I have to do this presentation. Everyone's going to laugh at me. It's going to be just awful. And your subconscious mind goes, well, I can't let that happen then, can I? I need to make sure she doesn't go because I need to save her life. So when she wakes up in the morning, she's going to have this most horrific headache. She can't go. She's going to have to cancel it. I've done my job. And you might notice patterns of that actually, where something important is supposed to happen and some reason that you got sick and you couldn't attend. That's not accident. That's your subconscious mind. Just let that land for a moment. So I just want to go and have a check in the chat, actually, see if anyone's put anything in here. Team Julie's here watching. Thank you, guys. If you've got any questions, then please drop them in the chat. Just let me know what's going on. I'm just going to have a quick sip of my water. But yeah, come and speak to me. It's quite lonely here. So we've covered 5% versus 95%. We've covered our subconscious programming. If you want something to really work and you want to really progress with something, you need to make sure that both conscious and subconscious are aligned. And once the subconscious is aligned with your conscious mind, you can fly. You can do anything you want, right? Like I said earlier, I wish I'd known this stuff when I was in corporate, because it would have made so much difference in my life. But I do know it now, and I'm glad I know this stuff. And now I'm still working on myself. It never stops. But I am a completely different version of Julie, who anyone who knew me in a previous life would know, right? Because I've cleared a lot of my subconscious programming, and now I can be the version of me. I mean, I would never have dreamt of doing any of this. I didn't even want to be a business owner. It's nothing. I was never on my bucket list of things to do. I didn't want to be a best-selling author, yet I am. All these things, you just never know. You just don't know. And when you start clearing your subconscious programming, doors literally open to you. And there'll be doors that you didn't even know that you wanted to open. And then, for me, it's been like being an author. It's been speaking on stages. It's been winning awards. It's, doing things like this. But the biggest thing for me is actually working with my clients and actually transforming their lives, and in some instances actually saving their lives. And that is such a powerful gift that I'm so grateful that the universe has presented me with. And I think I always had it, and I did tap into it when I was doing the counselling, but I did stay in the corporate. But even at work, I was always the coach. So it's always kind of been there. But eventually I got the huge nudge that said, come on, Julie, this is what you're meant for. This is what you should be doing. So this is what I'm doing now. And I'm trying to help anyone out there who really wants to start being the best version of themselves and living their life with purpose and passion. It doesn't mean you've got to leave your job. It just means you need to be the best version of you. And when you do that, it improves your home life. It improves your work life. It can improve your money as well, because let's be honest, if you're lacking in confidence and you just haven't got the confidence to go for that job interview, you're losing money, right? You're losing out on all these amazing things that you could be doing. You could be traveling the world on these amazing trips, but because you've kept yourself under that glass ceiling, you're not open to all the things that you could earn, open to abundance. And this is what we need to start getting our heads around. So I'd like to give you some little scenarios here, right? Now, again, many of you may never have had therapy, but I know a lot of the clients I work with have tried all the different modalities, but it just hasn't made that lasting difference. And they come and work with me and they're like, oh my God, this is the change I've been after. Okay. So let's use that as an example. Maybe you spent, the last couple of years unpacking all your childhood, and you understand exactly how you need to be and how to be wired. That work was real, and those insights were truly valuable. But like we said, understanding them and doing things differently aren't the same thing. But understanding where the patterns come from doesn't automatically rewire the pattern itself, because you're working at that conscious level. The automatic reactions that kick in before you've even had time to think. So that reaction that kicks in that boardroom when you become child mode again, when you're being triggered by this person that reminds you of your dad, or a critical parent, or a critical caregiver, or a teacher, someone that actually really triggered you, that's all stored in your subconscious programming. And I like to think of it as like filing cabinets, because I'm old school. You youngsters probably won't even know what I'm talking about. The big drawers, right? So every time an event happens in your life, it creates a file. Now, if it's a happy, you've had a great time and it's all lovely jubbly, then that's a happy memory, that's a happy emotion, that's good. But if it was negative and we've attached negative emotions towards it, then that sits thickly in that file, right? And if there was a physical reaction at that time, then that will be stored in that filing cabinet. So that physical reaction might be, I don't know, your face turns into a beetroot face, or your heart goes pounding, or you got that sickening feeling in your stomach, right? These are all stored memories in your filing cabinet. So when you're in that boardroom scenario, maybe, when you were 5, you were made to make a fool of yourself at school and your face did turn into that beetroot. Well, as, I don't know, a 40-year-old in the boardroom, all of a sudden your face goes bright red. That's your programming. That's not really you now. Obviously it is you now because it's happening in the here and now, but it's because it's stored. So to clear that, you need to find that subconscious programming and deal with it, which is what I do. Okay. So scenario 2 might be you've been working with a coach and you seem to have shifted everything. You've had those breakthroughs. You felt different. You even show up differently for weeks and people have commented on how well you're showing up. Maybe it's gone on for months. Then slowly, you gradually slide back. That confidence maybe starts dropping and maybe all the tools that you've been given are suddenly dwindling off, right? Because that's another thing, right? When you get loads of tools to do to help you to manage, they all become a little bit of an overhead, don't they? And you're like, geez, it takes me, I don't know, an hour every day to do all my affirmations. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't do them, because you do, and you do gratitude affirmations and do all of that. And they really do help, but you do have to change the subconscious programming as well. Now, it's important to understand that you've got all those changes and you're not, you slid back, and it's not because the coaching failed, but it was because you're managing the patterns at a conscious level. And like I said, that takes effort, doesn't it? All these different tools and things like that. So once we kind of upgrade the subconscious programming, you don't need all of those tools. Some of them you still do, but it's already done. You're already fixed. So you're not trying to manage your anxiety, all those symptoms of your anxiety, because you're not actually having that moment anymore. You're not having that beetroot face. You're not having those heart palpitations anymore, because we've dealt with those. Now, I like to use analogies, as you'll find out, but I like you to think of yourself as an onion. And every time you do deep work, you're peeling away a few layers of that onion. And then you need to sit with yourself as that version for a little while, right? And then maybe you need to go again and just pull away some more. But until you've done that first level, you don't know what's underneath. And that's what's great about it. And the work we do is about going to the root cause of when these, when the anxiety happened, or when the panic attack happened, or when the beetroot face happened. All these things, it's just getting to the root of it and finding it and desensitizing it, or so you don't have that physical reaction anymore. It's the same with self-development, isn't it? So many of us will read the books, watch podcasts and things, hopefully they will listen to my podcast as well. And that's all great. I do that all the time, and I'm always learning. I love to learn. I'm like a sponge. Never used to be, mind you. Wasn't interested before, but now I'm like, oh my God, I love that. That's so cool, right? But again, if we don't do the subconscious programming, it's not going to fix anything. So it goes back to what we were saying earlier. You're still doing the same things over and over again. Nothing's changing, because knowing and doing are different systems. And you become an expert in describing that ceiling that you're stuck on, right? You're still hitting it. You're still hitting those, going into those boardrooms and still feeling a bit anxious when you go in there, and maybe your face is reacting, who knows? Or maybe it's the sweaty palms. And to have a physical reaction can be really embarrassing, can't it? If you can hold it and no one notices it, it's not so bad. But when it's really noticeable, people are going, oh, look, she's gone beetroot again. All right. So we know that's happening. We know that's going on all the time, but it is about fixing it. And you've become an expert at maybe covering it up even. But that glass ceiling, as you'll hear me talking about a lot, is stopping you from being that version that you deserve to be. And what's really important, and I say this to my clients all the time, this identity box that we talk about, these things that have happened in your life that have caused these beliefs, physical feelings and reactions, are not your fault. But what we can do is work through them and change them. And if we choose not to do any of that, then we have to take responsibility for that. But we can't help it that when we were 5, when we had no logic, that we created this belief that we're not good enough. And if we're not good enough, then how can we go for that next job? How can we go for that promotion? How can we decide to go and work for ourselves? How can we do any of that if inside you're not good enough? You can't do that. Who do you think you are? Imposter syndrome, everything. It impacts your visibility, impacts everything. But it can also impact relationships as well. So the whole of our identity impacts the way we live. And I love this topic, and I'm going to wrap up soon because I'll be here all day. But I want you to understand that we need to find your gap. And I'm going to give you a tip in a moment. And at the end of each session, when we do these shows, I'm going to try and give you something that's going to be useful for you. But before we do that, let's have another quick look in the chat to see if there's anything going on there. And if you've got any questions, as I say, if you're watching this on replay, please put them in here. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's too much in there at the minute. Okay, so I'm going to start landing this plane for you now. I want you to do something for me after you've watched this show. This is your little bit of homework for this week. I want you to notice what gap you're creating in your life, right? The difference between managing a pattern and actually changing how you show up permanently. Because that's the difference between working at the conscious layer and working where the pattern lies, right? So what I'd like you to do is I want you just to notice when something is happening, whether it's in a meeting, whether it's at home, wherever it is where you notice yourself having a reaction, your racing heart, your stomach feels terrible, you just feel a bit woo, bit way, right? Or something in your head is just saying to you, stop it, no one cares, the imposter syndrome. But what I want you to do is just notice it. I don't want you to do anything about it. I just want you to notice. How does it feel? Where do you feel it? Now, if you do want to take it to the next level, then journal it, write it down somewhere, put it on your phone. Just put today, whatever today's date is, what was the incident, what happened, what did you feel, and just notice it. And that is the first step to actually knowing that your mind and body is connected and that you can't always think your way out of situations. You can't think your way out of an anxiety panic attack in the middle of the boardroom. You have to calmly breathe. Your body has to feel safe. But until you start acknowledging it, you can't manage it. And then you can't rewire it. And then you're just going to keep running and running and running. So just notice the gap that you've got. Next time you catch yourself doing it, as I say, if you want to write it down, do it. But just notice. And this will be your first step to moving forward. And I know, because I've been there and I've bought the t-shirt and I'm still doing it now. And trust me, I had to do a lot of talking to myself this morning before I went live here, because there was a few little messages coming in my head. But I don't know, I'm safe, I'm going to do this, I'm good enough to do this. I'm absolutely here, I'm showing up for my followers, and today is my first show and the best show, and I'm really excited that I'm here. Okay, so let's just wrap up a little bit here. Now, you've just seen why years of work doing this stuff doesn't always hold. And it wasn't about effort or willpower or picking the wrong person, absolutely not. But here's the thing, understanding why insight doesn't change behaviour doesn't automatically change your behaviour either. And that's the whole point. So what I want to offer anyone who watches this is to do a 45-minute session with me called the Upgrade Game Plan. Now, this is for free, but this is a chance for you and I to have a conversation and to get some real value and understanding about what's going on for you, what's running your show. And at the end of that, you'll come away with some insights. And if you want to come and work with me, that'll be even more amazing. Okay. So what you have to do, if you're interested, if anything I've said resonates with you on this show, whether it's on replay or live, whatever it is, I've just dropped a link in the chat here. Click on that link and you can put yourself on a waiting list. And then as I've got spots available, I will reach out to you and we'll get a date booked in. I've got 1 or 2 for this week if anyone's interested, but that changes all the time. So as and when when I can, as you can imagine, I'm very busy, but as and when I can, I will go to that list and I will call you and we will book a time in and have that conversation. I promise you it'll be worth having that conversation and the insights will be great for you. All right, so that's dropped in the link now. And yeah, let me know if you've got any questions. What patterns do you need to clear? What patterns are you running? All right, tell me in the comments and I promise I will read and come back to these as well. So just a quick summary. Just remember, you've got your conscious mind, 5%. You've got that 95% running the show for you. If you want to make these aligned, we need to upgrade your subconscious programming. So thank you very much for watching. I can't wait to see your comments and I can't wait to see you on my show every week. And yeah, thanks for watching. #replay if you're watching it on a replay. And I look forward to seeing you next week, Wednesday at 11:30. Take care. Thank you for watching. Bye.